2 weeks from now, Bangladesh will witness a national election on February 12, 2026, the first major parliamentary vote since the July student protest of 2024, which toppled the government and led to the ouster of then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. This election is being watched closely not only inside Bangladesh but across South Asia and beyond because it could shape the country's political direction for years to come. In July 2024, what began as student protest over government job quotas quickly grew into massive nationwide demonstrations demanding political change. The unrest eventually forced the then Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina out of office after 15 years in power, and an interim government was formed under Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus. This election is important for several reasons as it will decide the future of governance in Bangladesh. However, the election is also controversial because the former ruling party, the Awami League, has been barred from participating, prompting questions about fairness and representative choice. Today, voters are wrestling with both fear and hope. There are concerns about instability and the possibility of violence during the voting process. To understand what this election means on the ground, I am joined by an award winning journalist, Mr. Zia Chaudhry. Zia Chaudhry has been a journalist for over a decade now. He is currently a staff correspondent at the Business Standard, specializing in human rights, law enforcement, politics, crime, and diplomacy. Thank you, Zia, for joining us today. My first question to you is that you have been a journalist for 10 years now, right? More than 10 years, and you have seen elections. How does this election feel different from others? What is new, and what are people looking forward to?
So at first, I would actually argue with the word that controversial. So the problem is that what has happened in last 2024's July and till to the 5th of August. So I think there is still no sense of remorse from the people of Awami League, and still they are in a mood of vendetta and vengeance. So I think too many it might be a controversial election, but many of the Bangladeshis, millions of Bangladeshis, those who aspire to see the country as in a path of democratic country. So they don't go with the controversial. So I will at first it's in my view. So I have cleared my point. So the thing is there is no mm, after you have done so much bloodshed in 35 or 36 days. So, and most of you supreme leaders are now being prosecuted with digital evidence, not only the oratory evidence or the hearsay. It's digitally proved that how the security forces and the Hasina's administration's top leaders or top ministers, they ordered the brutal torture and the killing to the people and to the students. So they fled the country, and at least tens of thousands of people are now from their party is not in the country. So who are remaining in the country, actually they are not their candidate. So even if the Awami League is given the chance to join in the election, I think their top one, two, and three layers leaders are not in the country. So how will they join in the election? So there is one thing. The other thing is, okay, so what will be happen to the Awami League supporters, those who were not actually involved in those killings or not involved in those atrocity? So this is the legit question. So what will be happen to those supporters and the activists, those who are sympathizer to the liberation war, those who are sympathizer to the spirit of the liberation war, and also those who didn't engage or involved was not or were not involved in the July uprising atrocities. So yes, so the question is legit, and so much has happened. So every events and the bloodshed events has some consequences. So after the July revolution, I think soon after the election is happening within 1.5 years, so much thing is happening, and the Hasina is still trying to negatively portray that the country which has happened after 1.5 years, so that this election soon after 1.5 year in no way to validate or to give space to Awami League to join in the election. It's not really palpable, and it's also not uh, happening due to some after events by the Awami League also.
So issues during Awami League's regime was, corruption, authoritarianism, nepotism in politics. Do you think those issues remain even now, or the issues have, changed to instability and, progressing towards stability, political stability in the country? What are the issues that people are, voting this time on?
So corruption is the, I think, one word will come up when people are giving their thoughts on elections and in their mind. So not only in the Hasina's regime, if you look back to the past regimes since the independence of the inception of the birth of Bangladesh. So several regimes, including the military dictatorships, and then in 1991 again democracy took a turn, and democracy in a democratic path the elections were held and a democratic party came. So all the regimes have some bad reputation for corruptions. Sometimes it was so high, and sometimes it was in a marginable level. So two common people were wherever you go to the remote villages or the urban places. I think corruption and which party can give them resort to corruption, and the common man's life, the mass people's life can be a slightly better. Their demand is not so much high. They don't need a luxurious apartment. They don't expect a luxurious apartment, a luxurious car, or even a luxurious hospital or medical facility. They just need to live a slightly a better life which they has been living, or which has been they are getting from the past regimes. So corruption at the forefront of the discussion in the upcoming elections.
Are there any other issues apart from corruption, maybe in governance, maybe, in safeguarding minorities? What are other issues that is in public discourse right now?
Yeah, and I will go for the second things are the Gen Z and the youth voters, or whatever you say, youth populations are a huge number, and it's nearly half of the population. So the unemployment problem and the job security was also the reason why the July uprising took place. So creating jobs and creating industry, creating some sustainable industries for those millions of youths, so that is also in the talk. And apart from that, women's safety and security, after the revolution, so during the Hasina's regime, so the voice to many, including the Islamists, were muzzled. They couldn't have space. So everyone after the revolution, everyone, including the Islamists, I think they are now more vocal, and they are, everyone has their own voice, everyone has their own thoughts. Like many, the Islamists also have their own voice. So some of the Islamist groups, not the all groups, some of the Islamist groups, they might be radical, and also some of the groups, grassroots level leaders and activists, they are making some controversial comments, they are making some controversial remarks, and even some controversial events are being happening across the countryside and rural areas. I think in urban areas, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, and freedom of expression is far, far better. But whenever you go to some remote places and some rural districts, so there some Islamic leaders are not in favor of the free movement of the women, are not in favor of the working environment, like the allowing women to work independently alongside shoulder to shoulder with the men. So these are also the women's safety security and the equal rights to women to join your workforce, to join your industry, to join your any kind of work. So that is also being hampered. That is also a sense of fear among the working women community. If in the elections the Islamist group come to the power, then will we be able to work as like the same before? Will we be able to do our daily course or daily activities independently or in a free way? So there is a sense of fear just because of some controversial leaders and some Islamist controversial leaders remarks and some events that already happened in some rural areas. So women's safety, women equal rights to work, that is also a I think if you talk about the 3 points, one would be corruption, second would be the job security for the youth, and the third would be the women's safety and security.
Got it. So, we talked about women safety and possibility of, taking away rights from them.
And sorry, obviously I'm adding other things that
Yes.
uh, minority safety security is also there. They may not be a big number, but still they are around 10% of the Bangladeshi population, Bangladeshi populace. So even some of my Muslim friends and some of my mm, uh, those who are also Islamic sympathizer, I have seen and experienced that they are also not the every Islamic sympathizer is against the minorities, against the women. I have found many of them that they are also concerned about the safety of the minorities. So there is a sense of fear that how the minorities will vote in the upcoming elections. So they have been perceived, and the Awami League also portrayed them as they are uh, puppet voters. I will call it a puppet voters. So they largely portrayed the minority communities and largely the Hindu communities as Awam League voters. So it also hampered their life. And after that, due to the Hasina's regime's so many bad things, so some Hindus and Hindu leaders, Hindu Awami League leaders, they were also blamed. They were also, in some cases, they were harassed. They were slapped. So, and in some cases, some hardliner Islamists, some, I would say that they are not the real Muslim. So if they were real Muslim, they wouldn't do so. So they did engage in some cases. They got scuffle with the minorities. Some minorities were even those who were not really engaged with the Awami League. Some Hindus were also harassed. Some were tortured. But that's not the whole picture. But for those all the circumstances, there is a sense of fear among the community, Hindu communities, that even they would go vote for the Jamaat Islami, even they would go vote for the BNP. So would they believe that we are going to vote for BNP and we are going to vote for Jamaat Islam? At least in two candidates, Jamaat Islami gave nomination to Hindu communities, and Hindu candidates are fighting on behalf of a Islamist party. So I think in those places the Hindus will go vote for him. And even I can say that one Supreme Court barrister, Shishir Monir, lawyer Shishir Monir, sorry, he's not a barrister. So Supreme Court lawyer Shishir Monir, he is now fighting from the Sylhet region, which is very closer to Assam, and at least half of the voters are from Hindu communities and minority communities. And in the past regimes, the lawmaker was being elected mostly from the Hindu communities. So
He's electing from which party?
he is a Jamaat leader, and he is a Jamaat backed leader. So he has no high rank and files into the party, but he is a Jamaat affiliated and backed country. So, but I have seen that so many Hindus and minority communities are rallying behind him. And there is no doubt that I would say that many of the minority communities from that specific place, it's called Sunamganj, Shalla and Dirai, they will go vote for Shishir Manir. The thing is, in some places and in the rural areas, there is a sense of fear that even I go vote for BNP, even I would, if there is, as there is no Awami League, so they would have no other choice. They would have to vote. If you go to vote, you have to vote either BNP, Jamaat, or any other parties, NCP or anyone else. But the fear is, even if I go vote for BNP or even if I go vote for Jamaat-e-Islami, would they finally believe it?
Yeah, so you mentioned about Jamaat-e-Islami and radicalization in some aspects in Bangladesh. Seeing the recent student election where NCP and Jamaat-e-Islami won. So do you think that even people are maybe moving towards some sort of radicalism in their thoughts, and especially men, they are thinking in a certain direction which they were not earlier? Do you think that is also happening among people?
Actually, when uh, the Jamaat top leaders, they are not saying many things or many things which indicate that curtailing the women rights. They are trying to be moderate, but the thing is, their grassroots and their countrywide some leaders, they are not in their control, so they have their own voice. The party was formed in a spirit of like Islamist party, and their spirit was initially that they would establish an Islamic rule or Islamic country, but now they deviate from the spirit. Their top leadership and supreme leadership is are saying that they are trying to be moderate, but the thing is their grassroots and the countrywide the organizational capacity, they are not in favor of the position of the party. And in a latest episode of interview with Al Jazeera, so the supreme leader had to say that so there will be no women leader from their party. So Jamaat Islami will never have a woman chief or woman supreme leader. So that remarks or that interview was actually, I think, that a controversial one, and that also created a huge buzz and huge blow to the civil society and the women, especially to the women, those who are independent and those who aspire to be see the country as a uh, equal to work for them also. So the thing is, there is a sense of fear that if the Jamaat Islami come to power, they are the major Islamic party. There are other major there are some other Islamic parties too, but they are large in a number, in capacity of their supporters and activists. So if their grassroots level is still talking about much against, which goes against the women rights and women's safety, then what will be happen if they come to the power? So there is a sense of fear. But their top leadership kept saying, and they are gish galloping and they are blabbering that the women rights and women's safety would not be curtailed even if they come to power. And they are saying that, and people, some sectors take it as a irony that they are saying that in their hands women are the most safeful. And also some student unions leaders, including the Russia University one, they have already made some controversial remarks in case of press freedom and in case of women rights. Not in the grassroots level women, but the urban women and working class women, they are not actually comfortable and they are not feeling comfort with the idea that Jamaat is coming to power.
Is it really coming to power? Will it come to power if NCP, National Citizen Party, and they come in coalition? Do you think there's a possibility of coalition like they had in student election? And also, how are these two parties different in their ideology and different in their, you know, thoughts? How are they coming together, being, very different? And they have, I think, also mentioned that ideologically they are different, but then they're coming together for elections. So do you think there's a possibility of coalition of these two parties? And if they come to power, what can be the outcome? Will it again, for women, will it remain as it is, how it is now, or can it go in different direction,
So
in a bad direction?
at first, I would say whoever comes to power, so there would, after the election, I think election is not their main challenge. Even if they being elected and after the election governing the country for the next 2 or 3 years, at the very first 2 or 3 years of the first tenure of 5 years, so that would be a Herculean task for any party, whether it's BNP, whether it's Jamaat and NCP-led coalition, or anyone else. After winning the election, the very first 2 and 3 years, so your all institutions are fractured and those are not in line with the democracy. So you have to deal with so many things. And people, the only thing is now good in the country, that is people have their own voice and people have their freedom of speech. So anyone can raise their voice. Even if the women's rights is being is being controversially addressed by any leader, it is being opposed. Even if the minority communities are being attacked in some places, the issues are being raised. At least people are now talking. So whether it's Jamaat or BNP is coming to power, so I think it would not be a easy task or easy job to govern the country. And yes, obviously, when you talk about the alliance of NCP and Jamaat, so in my view, it was NCP's first choice to mingle with the BNP. But the thing is, BNP didn't give them a nod off finally. They waited for the BNP's supreme leader or chairman Tariq Rahman's homecoming. They waited till to the then, but later the BNP, there is a hearsay that BNP rejected their demands, rejected their seat sharing proposal, and later they had no other choice to join the Jamaat. And one thing in my view is NCP did join with Jamaat. That's sensing that they are sensing that BNP is coming to the power. So if I go with the BNP, then I might be another puppet party like Jatiyo Party, and might be a we might be a party that is going with the ruling party, and then you may in Bangladesh every ruling party and every incumbent party lose their popularity. So, in my view, NCP may be trying to do the anti-incumbent politics. So that is why they joined hand with the Jamaat. And as the BNP already rejected their proposals, so they had no other choice. And the thing is, whether even if the BNP is coming to the power, so obviously the Jamaat and the Islamist will be the main opposition. Whether it's a coalition government or a national government, so Jamaat would be the, if BNP comes to power, then Jamaat would be the main opposition. So it's also not possible for the BNP to run to govern the country so easily. And even in BNP's time, women rights would be in trouble also. But they have to be they have to handle it very very carefully and very uh, professionally, I think. So whoever comes to power, so governing the country or governing Bangladesh for the next 2 or 3 years, it would not be easy.
Who do you think is emerging as a very strong leader apart from the party, but then as a face, as a prime ministerial face, who do you think is emerging stronger among people and popular vote?
Okay, I'm coming to the question after adding a point that
Yeah.
how popular is Jamaat? So I forgot to answer the question. So obviously, in past elections, before the Hasina's regime, in 2028 election, Jamaat's vote sharing was not more than 8%. So now it believed and perceived to like that the Jamaat's popularity has gained and the voter numbers is rise to 250 to 25 to 30%. So that is a huge number. And I would also like to add that due to the BJP's politics in India and the far rights or the Hinduism politics in India helped Jamaat and other Islamic parties to make their ground stronger in Bangladesh. So, being Islamist is also a populism in Bangladesh. It's being popularized. So people don't bother whether they are not in the real path of Islam or not. They they support and they do join the party. Oh, it's Islamist party, and they will try to bring the rule of Islam. Okay, I am okay with that. So that is why the popularity and the voter numbers are rising in favor of the Islamist. And I would say, if even if Jamaat comes to power, I would not be surprised. So there is some also hearsay and there is some also popular experts and opinions and some opinion polls that maybe Jamaat would go very neck to neck and very closer to the winning the elections, but would not be possible to win the elections. But I would say even if they get elected, I would not be surprised. And if you talk about so who is emerged as the one of the favorite leaders or as the emerging leaders, so I would say now no one is other than Tariq Rahman now. So one event I can remember or I can usefully say that after the attack on Pratham Aalo and Daily Star, so the civil society, the mainstream media, the legacy media, and the most of the secular or liberal people, they are now rallying behind unconditionally. They are now rallying behind BNP. That even before coming to the power, see what can the Islamist supporters group they can do. So some 28 journalists, they were from Daily Star, they were on the brink of losing their life. So they kept shelter, took shelter at the rooftop, and they had to wait for hours till the firefighter and the army rescue could reach them. Even the army rescue and the firefighters were retaliated by the angry groups of the Islamist protesters, those who are not um, those who are not satisfied with the coverage of Pratham Aalo and Daily Star. So, so that is why and in many opinions poll, even also saying by the some international medias, including the Time magazine, that Tariq Rahman has emerged as the only face, those uh, who can be the crusader. So the country went into a monster abyss during the Hasina's regime. And far before the 2001 to 2006 rules of BNP, people have also experienced that their experience was not so good. So the people is now confused and also perplexed that would be our fate would be the same even after an election, snapped election or the election after the revolution.
Mm.
So when you have to choose the lesser evil, so in global south, so it perceived as the voting is the choosing the lesser evil. So I think then the Tariq Rahman would be the only choice you can, and the most of the civil societies, legacy medias, and the liberal peoples, and also some people also have expressed that this Tariq Rahman is not the same one who was in 2001 to 6. So he came back from 17 or 18 long years of exile. He went under a makeover of in touch of Westminster model democracies. He have seen so many things in London. So he might be a real game changer. But at the same time, he might be failed.
Mm.
So it's upon him that whether he will take the lead to lead the country or to take the country in a way position to that people who aspire to be a prosperous nation. So his one line is now being popular, that is country comes first. So the question still remains: would Tariq Rahman be able to remain the tagline that really country comes first when he comes to power?
Yeah, when we came to Bangladesh, we spoke to BNP leaders as well, and they said that they are bringing democratic reforms, and these are they were like 30-40 reforms that the party is introducing. So, do you think what the change that has happened on the leadership position is also coming in the party and at grassroots level? Do you think that is happening, or is just the leader who is now faced with some change and with a face who will bring the change, but it will happen only when the party also includes those changes and bring
Okay.
reforms. So do you
Okay.
think that is
So
the
so
process?
let me clarify one another thing, that how Jamaat got much popularity than the previous times. So one thing is corruption and extortion. So Jamaat could successfully popularize the tag that BNP is a Chandabas party. So that does mean the BNP people across the country, they'll extort people. They forcefully take extortion and they are heavily engaged in corruption. Jamaat could successfully infiltrate those lines into the common voters. So how did it came this far? So the thing is, after the fall of the Hasina, so many grassroots levels BNP leader, they were heavily engaged with the extortion, and actually the thing was being done by Awami League leaders and activists back in Hasina's regime. So just the leaders changed. The system is still there. So just the BNP leaders took the position, and BNP also retaliated. They tried to stop it. They sacked, or immediately they stripped off the party ranks and files. Around 6,000 people they sacked from their party, temporarily or permanently. But the thing is, even if they are not in power, they are perceived as a shadow power. They are perceived as the front runner, and they might become to power. So even if their people are going so rampant when they are not in power, so people are also in fear of that. So how BNP will handle those people when they actually comes to the power? And also, It would be the one of the BNP's standing committee member Selima Rahman in one event. In BNP's event, he mentioned that now the environment or the mood is like too many BNP people that it's our time to loot. So it's our high time to replace the Awami League in case of doing extort people or in engaging into corruption. So BNP's top brasses and including the Tariq Rahman, they are repeatedly saying that. So this BNP would not be the same. So they will heavily take care of the anti-corruption measures, and they will not allow anyone to do corruption during their regime or if they come to power. But I think it's too early to predict and too early to give a verdict that BNP will be the real crusader when it comes about corruption.
Yeah, so there are, fears for both the parties. If BNP comes to power, there's the fear of, again, the corruption and extortion that has happened in their previous governance. And if Jamaat Islami comes to power, there's a fear of radicalization and, moving towards a more conservative society. This is the fear inside Bangladesh. What about the fear for the neighboring countries like India? What do you think? Because both the parties right now are not in good terms with India. So what do you think can lead to relationship with India if any of the party comes to power?
Actually, whoever comes to the party, the governing party would trying to be mingled with India, and there is no other choice. You have more than 4,000 long borders, 4,000 kilometers long borders with India, and it's also India's burden to mend the relationship. So the way they went too far with Hasina, so it was, I would say that the relationship during Hasina's regime was not a country to country. It was a party to party and a person to person. It was a relationship between Modi to Hasina, and it was a relationship between BJP to Awami League. So I would say that relationship would have to be with Bangladesh to India, with Bangladeshi people to India's people. So whoever comes to power, so they would try to mend the relationship. They would try to get through a makeover in case of the relationship, in case of the diplomacy. But the opposition party, who would be the main opposition, they would try to galvanize the anti-India sentiment. So for the governing party, for the ruling party, it would not be an easy task to mend the relationships with India. And also, I would say to start a new relationship, it's also India's duty and India's responsibility to act with reciprocity and with respect. So if India doesn't respond or react in a manner that, oh, okay, we have done so many things during Hasina's regime, so we have to have a new start. So the thought also have to comes from the India's part, from the India's South Bloc or Delhi. So it would have to be done through the two countries actually by hand to hand.
Right. So I just hope whoever comes to power takes Bangladesh into a more progressive society. Last question I have: does NCP do not like? It's a very small party right now, so there is no possibility that it can become a full-fledged mainstream party and stand against both Jamaat and BNP. So, what future do you see of NCP when it comes to leading a country or becoming a full mainstream party?
So actually, the chance and the opportunity they got just after the revolution. So they were so much popular till for the next 6 months of the revolution. So the thing they actually they damaged their uh, opportunity. They couldn't galvanize their opportunity. They were they were heavily engaged with some controversial steps. Some of their
Like,
leaders were
for
heavily,
example, you
for
can.
example, some of their leaders were also heavily engaged in corruption. They didn't mm, take the lead, the spirit of the July, and the amount of emotion the country people hand over to them, they couldn't hold it back. But they are now realizing the things that after initially after the revelation, they were in a honeymoon period, and they were in a mood that okay, we have touched, or we have reached the peak, and we have reached the ceiling. We are in a they were like we are in a cloud nine. So now they return back to the ground, and now they are trying to mend their faults and mend their bad things they did happen or did make during the interim's regime. So I would say the NCP's first fault or first disadvantage was to be part of the interim government. So, to being part of the interim government, they were heavily engaged in so many controversial uh, activities, and they had to do so many things in favor of their close peoples. So that also did make them controversial. So I think at least two or three people from their party would be elected as the member of the parliament in the upcoming elections, and they are now. I talked to Nahid Islam recently in the past week, so he was saying that okay, we can get a fresh start after the election. So we would do the politics of anti-incumbency, and we would do the politics of um supporting the voice of the mass. So we would do the same after the election, and we are also trying to mend our mistakes. So that's their thoughts now. That's their realization now.
Right. So just to sum it up, if one issue that each party is fighting for as their goal, what can be like for BNP, what is it, and for Jamaat, what is it, and for NCP, what is it?
You mean the challenges?
Challenge, not challenges, but then how we have election manifesto, that this is the highlight of the manifesto, this is what we are going to do. So for each party, what is the goal that they are looking for, what is something that they are projecting in front of people that they will do when they come to power?
So BNP is trying to popularize that they are coming up with the ideas of so many cards, family cards, ration card, or the farmer's card. So they will try to um, identify and make at least lakhs of people, millions of people, uh, to help restore or to help elevate their life is slightly better. And they are naming it family card. And the woman of the family, the leading woman of the family, would get the card, and they would be given 2,500 Bangladeshi taka per month. So mostly BNP is now trying to popularize this scheme, that family card and the farmers card. So that may improve the lives of millions. And alongside, Jamaat is trying to say that they would not allow corruption and extortion. So uh, I already have said you that the extortion and corruption is the main marketing thing of Jamaat. So they are now trying to marketing those words and trying to woo the voters to Jamaat, as they would be the one of the anti-corruption crusader. And NCP is saying so that so they get a country in terms of uh, prosperity and equal rights. So they published their official manifesto yesterday, and their main point and main theme is focus is the youth, and the country would be governed by equal rights. So no one would have the chance to be like Awami League or Hasina. No one would like to be as a authority and ruler. So I think that's their main point in the electoral manifesto.
Yeah, that's what is very ironical, that they are, saying that they will bring equal, more progressive society and equal rights and everything, whereas Jamaat, which is exactly opposite, in terms of certain thoughts that they will take away the rights of working women. So, two very contradictory ideas and ideologies, if they come to power together in coalition, it's very interesting to see what will happen.
Yeah, so just let me add one sentence.
Hmm.
So NCP tried to say that so this is not an ideological coalition. This is an
Yeah.
electoral coalition. So whether it's ideological or electoral, so you both are together, but
Yeah.
your ideology and your thoughts are not the same in some cases. So people do mind it.
Yeah, it's like BJP and left coming in power in in India, and saying that they are just coming for electorals. I mean, it's gonna reflect on the ground, whatever you say that you're coming just electorally, but then your policies will reflect on the ground. So who will overpower themselves in policies? Of course, Jamaat, because they have more number and NCP have less number. So yeah, it's interesting to see how this will turn out. That's it. I think. Thank you, Zia, for taking out so much time and share your insights. And let's see what happens. Do you think there's a? Sorry, I'm adding this at the end. Do you think there's a possibility of violence during election or during voting?
I
Uh,
think South Asian elections are violent.
yeah.
And it's in the very root of our electoral culture. So you would not be able to portray any elections passed in Bangladesh, whether it's under Hasina's regime or under caretaker government or under any ruling party's governance, whether it's a local governance election, or whether it's a national elections. So violence are the part of the culture of Bangladeshi politics also, like the so many South Asian nations. So, but the thing is, so how much would be the gravity and how would be the situation? So, in actually immediately after the announcing the poll schedule, so as the law enforcement agencies are not so much active in Bangladeshi context right now. So there was a sense of fear that the violence would be, the election would be too much violent, and it would be one of the worst of the history. But till to the date, I don't see that much. So there is some violence. There is some one already died in a rural district. So one Jamaat leader was died. So I would not say that election would be violence free, but the gravity, the fear is was initially there, but it's not the same till to the date.
Thank you, Zia. Thank you for your time and for your insights. And let's see.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.